Jim, what do you see as what do you see as the top 3 issues the City Council will be facing in 2008?
Well, we have so many issues that we're always working on at the city. It's a little hard to narrow it down to 3, but I would say that probably number 1, we have to push forward and finish the expansion of the urban growth boundary. That's a process that's been going on for a long time. Many people would say way too long, but it's not finished yet. It's a very careful process outlined by the state on what cities can do to expand their urban areas. We're aiming towards getting that done sometime early next year. That will involve an enlargement of the urban growth boundary for both residential and employment lands. And that's an important thing that the city should have done a long time ago, but is still working on. Probably the second thing, as I see as a major issue coming that we really need to come to grips with in the next year, is that the city is facing a huge number of challenges in transportation and in getting the money together to pay for all the things that such a growing city needs, and a number of other areas. So the question we'll be grappling with is, how is the city responding to these challenges? Major difficulties coming forward in the areas of transportation, getting the roads fixed for a city that's growing so quickly, and planning the city of the future. And thirdly, I would say we need to do a better job of planning for the Bend's economy in the future. Whether we like it or not, Bend is part of the world. We are affected by globalization. We're affected by the weak dollar. We're affected by all the things that affect the rest of the country. And so we need to make sure that as we go forward, the economy here, which has in recent years depended on building new houses, selling existing houses, the real estate and building industries have been a relatively big part of the economy. We can't depend on that being the case in the future. We have to look to some core employment areas that provide people with good jobs, that provide the kind of the base of our economy as we go forward. So that's probably another one of our major issues that we have to deal with.
What do you see as your role as city councilor and how to help with moving these issues forward and resolving them?
Well, honestly, being on the city council does have its frustrations for a person like me who comes from the private sector, having been in business for 30 years and always having my own business, even though in highly technical areas. As a scientist, it's still the independence that I always had and the control over what my businesses were doing was something that I feel is missing at the city council. So I'm one city councilor. We're all volunteers basically, and the city staff runs the city. And so the city council can establish, in fact should establish, clear policies for the city staff to implement as it faces and grapples with all these challenges. But the role of the city councilor is that we come to meetings basically every 2 weeks. We talk about issues. There's always a lot more talking than there is action, and so it's a bit of a difficult role for me. It's not something that I spent my whole life planning for, that's for sure. I come at it from a somewhat unusual perspective, but I do think that working with my colleagues there, we have been able to make some progress on some important issues, and I think we will continue to make some progress, although it's not easy and it's not without controversy.
Well, I certainly agree with that. And will you run for city council again?
It's really a little early for me to think about that. I guess I would run if I believed I was continuing to make some progress on some of these issues. It can be a little frustrating because, like I say, we on the city council don't have a lot of control over a lot of the things that happen. We, for example, have only one employee, and that's the city manager. And now, in fact, we don't have any employee because we don't have a city manager right now. And so I guess it would depend, like I say, on whether I believed and the people I talked to believed that I was making some progress on these important issues for Ben. There are plenty of reasons to be on city council, plenty of reasons not to be on city council. And so I guess it's just premature for me to think about it right now.
Now, do you see any beneficial link, Jim, between green and sustainable building practices and the economy of Bend?
Well, the whole area of alternative energies and sustainable technologies is an area that I've been interested in since the energy crisis that happened during the Carter administration. You're, of course, way too young to remember that, but it was kind of a time in the country where it had a taste of what it's like to have energy supplies restricted and energy costing a lot. And so I joined an energy center at the University of California in San Diego where we studied all kinds of alternative energy production methods, conservation methods, and the start of what is now called sustainability. So it's something I've been interested in for a long time, and when a few years ago I got involved in the planning for Juniper Ridge, I helped develop a set of guiding principles based on everything I knew and all the trends that I did research on for the future. There's no question that energy is going to be costing more and available less as we go forward. And any city that doesn't plan for that is going to be left behind and become a very unattractive place for people to live. Cities that embrace this future and regard the challenges that we see as real opportunities for doing things differently will continue to be at the forefront and continue to be a popular place where people want to be. And so in the planning of Juniper Ridge, a number of our guiding principles have to do with sustainable development, have to do with use of alternative energies, have to do with efficient use of energy. We here in Central Oregon are lucky in a sense in that we have relatively low-cost electricity and low-cost natural gas. But this is a temporary bit of luckiness. In the future, since we're so dependent on all the energy being imported into this region, that we're vulnerable to prices going up and restrictions in supply. And so as we plan the future of our city, we have to do what we can to reduce energy use for transportation, reduce energy use in our buildings, which require like 1/3 of all the energy that's used in our society here. And we then can, instead of having this be a problem for us, it can be a great opportunity for us. So I want Juniper Ridge, and have always wanted it to be a showcase of sustainable development, a showcase of alternative energies, and an example to the rest of the world, actually, of how a city can do a well-planned project that is out ahead of the curve on energy use and on sustainable building practices.
On the rendering for Juniper Ridge concept plan that was in the paper, there was a picture of a large lake in there. Can you tell us what the source is for the water and how that might be used in Juniper Ridge?
Yeah, I think the rendering that I saw in the paper was maybe a little unrealistic for what actually is being planned, but it is part of this very ambitious and world-class master plan that has been done by Cooper Robertson. And that particular feature was part of a very comprehensive scheme for using the canal that goes through Juniper Ridge right now, the Central Oregon Irrigation District Canal. The plan had to do with piping most of that canal, recovering some hydroelectric power So make a small-scale hydroelectricity generator, and then also use the water to have it be stored somewhat in sort of a pond or a lake there as part of the town center in Juniper Ridge. So it's not really water that's coming from any place else, it's water that is just going by in this canal. And so it doesn't require any new water, it's just sort of a reuse and a rethinking of the potential associated with the canal that already goes through Juniper Ridge. So the net water use in the canal itself would be less than it is now in terms of water leaking out at the bottom of the canals, which is one thing that happens here in Central Oregon. So that water would no longer be leaked out the bottom because the pipe would be, or the canal would be piped, and then you get both the benefit of this sort of amenity for the town center, the water feature, as well as the hydroelectric potential. Generally, we're looking, in addition to that, at some novel uses, potentially an on-site sewer treatment plant. Juniper Ridge happens to be pretty close to the city's sewer treatment plant, wastewater plant. So one of the ideas I've been promoting is to reuse water from the water treatment plant and bring it back to Juniper Ridge and to other developments for use in landscaping. Many other cities that have actually much worse water challenges than we do here in Central Oregon already do this, where they take water from the treatment plants and run it back into especially the commercial areas to use it for landscaping. Mm-hmm. So you get kind of double use out of water. In fact, water is already going from the city's water treatment plant north to Pronghorn, and in exchange for that, Pronghorn paid a lot of money to expand the water treatment plant. So it was a way to encourage water conservation and reuse of water, and it's exactly the type of thing we're hoping to do at Juniper Ridge and elsewhere in the city also.
What about solar and wind energy as well at Juniper Ridge with all the sunshine that we receive here?
Yeah, one of the great benefits we have from living in Central Oregon is that it's relatively sunny, and also, as we noticed this morning, it's relatively cool. And so that combination of sunlight and cool weather gives us a huge opportunity to use solar energy not only in generating electricity through photovoltaics or other means, but also in the design of our buildings. So I think it would be just great if Bend could become like a leader on not only the state but also the national level for the better use of solar energy in our buildings, both passive solar, heating of hot water, and in wherever it's appropriate, generating electricity. And one of the goals, as I mentioned, for Juniper Ridge is that it be a showcase for these technologies and these techniques, so that people could have like a central location where they could come to and see all these things actually in practice. And so I think we have an opportunity to be a real leader in this area, something that we can be well known for. I would like to see when people mention Bend around the country, they say, oh yeah, that's that wonderful place that has the great mountain views, the great climate, and is also taking the lead on alternative energies and sustainable technologies and green development. All those things that are destined to become much more important in the future than they have been in the past.